This episode of Bullet Heaven was made possible with a copy of the game provided by Limited Run Games.
さーて、お手並み拝見といくわよ。
In episode 229 of Bullet Heaven, we took a look at Game Tengoku Cruisin Mix Special for the PlayStation 4. It was a great remaster of an early favorite of ours, and even though half of its eventual cost would go to DLC, these extra bits were tailor-made for the Game Tengoku superfans like us, so we definitely dug them. But at the time, one piece of DLC was missing. Tatsujin was slated to be an exclusive part of the limited run Paradise box in North America, and we looked forward to the day that we could get hands-on. As it turned out though, Tatsujin would lose its limited edition exclusivity, first going live in North America on Steam, seeing release on February 13th, 2019, and finally to PlayStation 4 on June 21st. We got the Paradise box recently, which we'll be taking a look at in Bullet Heaven Unboxes in the near future. But how does Tatsujin handle? Does it change the game? And is it worth the asking cost? Let's take a closer look. For the full skinny on Game Tengoku Cruisin Mix Special and its intricacies, be sure to check out episode 229 of Bullet Heaven. Now then, down to business. Tatsujin plays a little differently than the rest of the cast in Game Tengoku Cruisin Mix. For one, the player's firepower is rapid only. There are no charge shots available here. Another missing element to Tatsujin as a playable ship are the options that players would normally collect to enhance their firepower. Instead, a pair of bits will appear when players reach full power. Tatsujin can be a pretty powerful ship, so despite the lack of options, it feels balanced regardless. Like the rest of the cast, Tatsujin can upgrade its shot power through the use of power-ups, but requires a series of them to increase to the next power level. Each power-up collected lights up a P on the gauge in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Larger P indicators will show a player where their shot patterns will change. If there is a power increase with each pickup, it's not especially noticeable until the fire pattern changes. The player's power-ups will cycle between red, green, and blue, allowing players to change between 3 different styles of fire. Red will enable the machine gun style power shot. The power shot can be powerful, but is really most useful when point blanking, which ensures all shots hit their target. Green power-ups grant the player the focused Tatsujin beam, which is a high-powered weapon with a narrow field of attack. Especially at full power, players can really dish the damage with this weapon, but it can take time to get it in front of enemies to dispatch them. Finally, blue pickups will enable the tracking Thunder Laser. The Thunder Laser is weaker all around, especially with just one beam to start. But it can also lock onto and track enemies while players focus on dodging enemies in their shots. The Thunder Laser is also very useful in score attack, especially at full power. The Tatsujin Bomber is also available for players to use both offensively or defensively. It will deal a great amount of damage in its area of effect, but also clears the screen of enemy bullets when used. Especially in the second loop of the game, the Tatsujin Bomb can be a real lifesaver in this regard. More bombs can be picked up and stocked as normal. But this time around, they look different than the standard bombs in Game Tengoku, represented instead by blue flashing orbs. All in all, not bad, but there's a slight catch. Sometimes the fire button won't respond and will need to be released and pressed again to re-engage the player's shots. This usually happens from resuming the game from pause or going from one stage to the next, but that it happens at all is a bit of an annoyance. Still, it has an easy workaround and doesn't get too much in the way of the gameplay, so it's a minor issue at worst. Tatsujin can only be used in Arcade Mode Plus and Score Attack, but these modes are also largely the most replayable ones, given their online leaderboards. In the end, Tatsujin is a pretty fun addition to the roster. It definitely feels quite a bit different from the rest of the cast with its simpler retro mechanics and altered power-up and weapon system, but for those looking to take on the Genius Yamada with more firepower than is reasonable, Tatsujin could be the way to go. Alright, we want to take this opportunity to go over a scoring element that may have been incorrectly explained in episode 229. The eggplant scoring for large eggplants isn't random like we thought. Instead, players first need to collect eggplants to where 10,000 points happens or will be the next to be 10,000 points. Players then need to maintain the chain, best done using the handy gauge in the top left-hand corner of the screen, at 10,000 apiece until the next large eggplant can be dropped or burst while doing so. So long as 10,000 points are or should be awarded per eggplant, new eggplants will appear at 48,050 points until the chain breaks. We hope that clears this up. Tatsujin in specific does a pretty good job of cleaning up and allows players to grow their eggplants to the point that they can be collected for that magic 48,050 points, especially in score attack mode. As with any other character in the game, online leaderboards for the game proper, as well as time attack stages 1 and 2, are available for players to stack themselves up with others around the world using Tatsujin. These dedicated leaderboards are a great touch for this DLC package, and it adds a decent amount of replay as a result. The Tatsujin DLC adds a number of extras to the overall package of the game. On the sound front, Yuki Ito commentates while Tatsujin is in play, though like most of the characters in this game, she can get pretty annoying. What won't be annoying though is a great new remixed Tatsujin track that plays during score attack. Additionally, a new Data Mode HD entry has also been added for the Tatsujin arcade game from Toaplan. Once again narrated by Yuki, she excitedly tells the player about Tatsujin and what made it such a big deal back in 1988. Visually, the fantastic, clean art of Tatsujin and Yuki decked out in a red flight suit are excellent additions to the character portraits already in the game. Illustrated by Gigi, it could be the best piece in the game to date. Meanwhile, in-game, Tatsujin's sprite looks on point, and the slight UI changes work well in Arcade Mode Plus. Its attacks are bright and vibrant, especially in the case of the Tatsujin Bomber with its high-visibility blues and pinks flashing all over the screen when deployed. So, all in all, there's a lot to like about this DLC. But how does it stack up? Let's take a look. Tatsujin feels a little slow, but that's just how Tatsujin is. A snaggly hitch on the rapid fire end of things can sometimes cause issues though. Tatsujin allows for a decent progression through the game. A first loop 1cc is a pretty easy thing to accomplish by using this craft. Tatsujin can only be used in Arcade Mode Plus and Score Attack, but leaderboards for both allow for a good amount of playtime. From the sprites and attacks to the UI and fantastic character portraits, Tatsujin is a fine visual addition to Game Tengoku. In terms of sound, Yuki can be on the annoying side when a lot of pickups are snagged close together, par for the course in this game, but the Tatsujin remix and Score Attack really hits the spot. Tatsujin mixes things up in just the right ways to make the game feel different enough to freshen it up. If more ships from different games could be implemented, who knows how it could end up? Could it be the next Darius Burst CS? We may never know. The Tatsujin DLC is about $10 to purchase on either Steam or PlayStation Network. It feels a little pricey, but it should still be worth it to the hardcore Game Tengoku, Jellicoe, or Toaplan fan. That said, it will be included in the upcoming Switch release later this year. The Tatsujin DLC is something that we really wanted to get on top of from the very beginning, and while it is a little ironic that the DLC was made available to the masses on Steam and PSN before the Paradise Box, its original exclusive home, made it out the door, we're glad that anyone can get in on Tatsujin for themselves. We certainly dig it, and the Game Tengoku Cruisin Mix Special Tatsujin DLC gets a 4.25 out of 5. The Tatsujin DLC can be found on Steam and PSN for about $10. The DLC is also included on disc for both the standard and limited editions of Game Tengoku Cruisin Mix Special from Limited Run Games. The forthcoming Switch version from Dispatch Games will also include Tatsujin as standard content. If you thought this was cool, wait till you see what else was in the Paradise Box. There's some genuinely awesome, surprising stuff in there. Be sure to tune in to Bullet Heaven Unboxes when we take a look at both it and the Sega Saturn Goku Raku Pack, coming soon.